Hello, my name is Richard Wilson. I'm here in Geneva, Switzerland. I'm actually here to speak at a conference right down the street at the Intercontinental Hotel. And what I wanted to talk about today is lessons I've learned by watching Mark Burnett's show called Shark Tank. It features Mark Cuban, Kevin O'Leary, and several other billionaires and 100 millionaires or greater on the show. And there's three key lessons I wanted to share here for you. And the first one is basically that strategic partners are key. Lots of times on the show, if you haven't seen it, basically it's business owners that are trying to get money for their business and giving up equity in exchange. And they also get advice, not just money. But that's the first lesson to learn, is that many times you want to evaluate your company on 3 to 5 times free cash flow, 3 to 5 times earnings, if you have any cash flow or any profits to show. But when you're speaking with a potential investor, you have to realize that the more well-connected they are and the more experienced they are, the less it matters how much money they're adding, because just their strategic advice is important. They have to have enough equity to get excited about the opportunity. 7% or 3% equity might not be enough unless you're Facebook. So I think it's a balance of different things. But the strategic partner, their ability to bring it to the table is hugely important. For example, I have a training business. If I was able to get the CEO of 3 of the top 10 publicly traded universities and get those 3 out of 10 CEOs onto my advisory board and give them each 10% equity, I'm sure between them they would figure out some way to get my training business either acquired or a licensing deal or improve my sales in some massive way I hadn't thought of. So that's just one good example. Another good example is in our event business. If I connected with a publicly traded event company that had just been acquired by another company per se, and now the CEO doesn't have a full-time job, maybe I could bring him onto my board, give him 10%, 15% equity in exchange for so many hours a month of his time. Maybe it's just 2 hours a month of his time of connections, introductions, etc. And it could grow our business much faster than if I just kept all the equity to myself. So I think that's an important lesson. The second lesson comes directly from Mark Burnett, the creator of the show. He also created Survivor and I believe The Apprentice as well. And that he's just a complete genius, and that he knows that if somebody gets on TV, like if someone goes on a TV show and their idea is seen, and it's seen by tens of millions of people, then more people are going to buy that product and the equity value of that company goes up. So what Mark Burnett has done is create a sort of reality TV show. It's real angel investors, or angel investors, I guess you'd say, investing in real companies. But what happens is that Mark Burnett takes 5%, I believe, ownership, is my understanding, in each of the companies that goes on the TV show. So basically, if you are selling a new type of pillowcase, and you're trying to get capital because you're only doing $300,000 a year in sales, and you have no distribution, no partners, no manufacturing figured out to get the cost down, and you go onto that show, whether the sharks on the show, the angel investors, put money in your idea or not, it's my understanding that Mark gets 5% equity in each of those businesses. So he's incentivized to get that TV show in front of as many people as possible, make it an excellent show, because then the value of those companies that were on the show will go up. So the lesson there is I'm sorry about the loud traffic behind me, but the lesson there is to look at your business and see what you could leverage into getting something else. I know one African mining company that uses an airplane surveying service. It usually costs $300,000 for somebody to hire them. They go to these mineral rights and commodity mining companies and say, don't pay us $300,000, just give us 3% of the income rights or any minerals taken out of the ground in this area that we're surveying. And lots of people take them up on it because they don't want to pay the $300,000 bill up front, which sometimes they have to do with debt, and it makes it more risky for them. And then they get payouts on it. So they bought the airplane and the surveying equipment once. Now they're turning that into 3% equity stakes in dozens of different plots of land. So it's the same as taking a TV show, promoting a company, and you get 5% of that company now for all the 20 companies that are on there per season, or 60 companies per season. So I think that's pure genius. Anytime you can look at your business, provide value to someone else, or it's a critical big chunk of cost to otherwise get what you can provide, and then negotiate an equity upside for that is pretty smart. The third lesson that I've learned from Shark Tank is actually that it's just a theme that keeps on on coming up, and that is that over and over again, people are not getting their distribution right, or they're not considering licensing their idea. No matter what you're doing, people have figured it out before. There's money flowing through whatever industry you're in. So you have to find those rivers of money. Where are those superhighways where there's a lot of money flowing, and try to navigate that yourself. Whether you're selling shoes, getting into shoe distribution all over the world, or clothing, or selling cars, or selling consulting services, there's places people go to get those things. And the other part of it is licensing. Lots of big companies are looking for ideas to license, and if you're able to get a licensing arrangement with a big company, you could go from $100,000 in sales to $10 million a year in sales, and it could be non-exclusive. You could still operate your core business while also licensing. So I think that's something that's come up again and again while watching the negotiations between the entrepreneurs and the sharks on the show. So hope you enjoyed this CEOtraining.com episode. Again, I'm sorry for the obnoxiously loud buses and cars going by in the background. It's Richard Wilson, company from Geneva, Switzerland, and I'll see you again soon.